From spontaneous combustion to your brain turning into Swiss cheese, this is how you die from every disease. And spoiler alert, while some will take you out in hours, others will slowly destroy you over decades, and one basically makes you allergic to water. But whether it's a medieval plague that killed millions, or a modern superbug we created ourselves, every disease has its own horrifying way of shutting down your body. Some you've definitely heard of, like the flu. Others sound made up, like fatal familial insomnia, where you literally can't sleep until you die. And yeah, we're going to talk about all of them. The quick ones, the slow ones, the ones that make you bleed from your eyeballs, and the ones that turn your organs into mush. So buckle up, because this is going to get graphic. But first, let's start with something you've probably had before. You think it's just a bad cold, but here's what actually happens when influenza decides to kill you. It starts innocent enough fever, body aches, that general feeling of wanting to die. But then your fever spikes to 104 degrees and keeps climbing. Your lungs start filling with fluid as your immune system goes into overdrive trying to fight the virus. Within days, pneumonia sets in. That fluid in your lungs, it's basically turning them into swimming pools where bacteria throw a party. And now you can't get oxygen into your bloodstream. Your organs start shutting down one by one because they're suffocating from the inside. Respiratory failure hits, and that's it. That's right, the flu. And if you survive influenza, you might still die from pneumonia itself, because once those lungs fill up with pus and infected fluid, oxygen can't transfer to your blood. Your body temperature shoots up to dangerous levels. Your heart races trying to compensate for the lack of oxygen, but it's fighting a losing battle. Eventually, your organs give up, kidneys fail, brain swells from lack of oxygen, heart stops, all because some bacteria decided your lungs looked like a nice place to multiply. But you know what's even more brutal? Diabetes. Not the "I need to watch my sugar" diabetes, but the untreated, undiagnosed kind that sneaks up on you. Your pancreas stops producing insulin, so glucose just piles up in your bloodstream. We're talking blood sugar levels that should be around 100 mg DL, shooting up to 600 or higher. And when that happens, your body goes into diabetic ketoacidosis, which is when your blood literally becomes acidic. Your cells are starving for energy even though your blood is swimming in sugar, so your body starts breaking down fat for fuel. This produces acids called ketones that poison your blood. You start breathing rapidly, trying to blow off the acid, but it's too late. Your organs fail from the toxic environment. You slip into a coma, and you're done. All because your pancreas stopped doing its one job. And here's the thing about sepsis. It's your own immune system that kills you. You get an infection, maybe from a cut, maybe from surgery, maybe from absolutely nothing obvious. The bacteria enter your bloodstream, and your immune system detects the threat. But instead of a measured response, it goes completely nuclear. Your body releases a flood of chemicals to fight the infection, but these chemicals cause widespread inflammation throughout your entire body. Blood vessels start leaking. Your blood pressure drops dangerously low. Organs aren't getting enough blood flow. One by one, they shut down kidneys, liver, lungs, heart. It's called septic shock, and it can kill you in hours. Your immune system basically nukes your entire body to kill the infection, and you're just collateral damage. Pretty wild way to go out. But if you thought those were bad, this next batch gets way weirder because some diseases don't just kill you fast, they make dying an absolute nightmare. You know the name meningitis, but here's what it actually does to you. The membranes around your brain and spinal cord, the meninges, become inflamed and infected. Your brain starts to swell inside your skull, which is a rigid box that doesn't expand. So, as your brain swells, it gets crushed against the inside of your skull. The pressure builds and builds, cutting off blood flow to parts of your brain. You might get a severe headache, a stiff neck, then confusion and seizures. From the first symptoms to death, sometimes just a few hours. Bacterial meningitis can kill you faster than you can get to a hospital. And even if you survive, there's a good chance you'll have permanent brain damage, hearing loss, or lose your limbs to gangrene. Yeah, it's as bad as it sounds. Then there's appendicitis, which seems so simple until it isn't. Your appendix is this tiny, useless organ attached to your intestine. When it gets infected and inflamed, it swells up like a balloon. If you catch it early, they remove it and you're fine. But if that appendix ruptures, all the bacteria inside it floods into your abdominal cavity. Now you've got peritonitis, which is a massive infection of your belly's lining. Sepsis develops within hours. Your organs start failing. One tiny organ that serves no purpose ruins everything. And don't even get me started on rabies. Once you show symptoms, you're basically dead. The virus travels from the bite wound through your nerves all the way to your brain. It causes inflammation of the brain and encephalitis, and you start hallucinating and becoming aggressive. Then comes the hydrophobia, where you become terrified of water. Not because you're being dramatic, but because your throat muscles spasm so violently when you try to swallow that it feels like you're suffocating. You literally cannot drink water even though you're desperately thirsty. Paralysis sets in, you slip into a coma, and then you die. The survival rate once symptoms appear? Basically, 0. Less than 20 people in all of recorded history have survived symptomatic rabies. And you probably got it from a cute bat or raccoon you tried to help. But here's the really terrifying one: tetanus. You step on a rusty nail, or get a deep cut, and the bacteria, Clostridium tetani, enters your wound. It produces a toxin that attacks your nervous system. Your muscles start contracting uncontrollably. First, your jaw locks up, lockjaw. Then the spasms spread to your neck, chest, and back. These aren't normal muscle cramps. These are violent, bone-breaking contractions. People with tetanus have literally fractured their own spines because their back muscles contracted so hard. And here's the nightmare part: you're fully conscious the entire time. You can't open your mouth to eat or drink. Your chest muscles spasm so badly, you can't breathe. You suffocate slowly while your body tears itself apart. Even with modern treatment, tetanus kills about 10% of people who get it. Your own muscles become torture devices. And that's just the infections that kill you in days or weeks. But some diseases take their sweet time, slowly destroying you over years while you watch it happen. While those diseases kill in days or weeks, these take decades. And somehow that's worse, because you get to watch your body fall apart in slow motion. Let's start with the leading cause of death in the United States: heart disease. Over years, plaque builds up inside your coronary arteries. Think of it like pipes getting clogged with grease and calcium deposits. Your heart has to work harder and harder to pump blood through these narrowing passages. The heart muscle thickens from the extra work, but eventually it weakens. Then one day, a piece of that plaque breaks off, or a clot forms, completely blocking an artery. Heart attack. Part of your heart muscle dies from lack of oxygen. If you're lucky, you survive with a damaged heart. If not, your heart just stops. Sudden cardiac arrest. Game over. Your heart is basically a clogged pipe that eventually bursts. Then there's COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is what happens when you smoke for 20 years. Your lungs lose their elasticity. The tiny air sacs that transfer oxygen to your blood get destroyed. But here's the twisted part. You can still breathe in just fine. It's breathing out that becomes impossible. Carbon dioxide builds up in your blood because you can't exhale properly. You're essentially drowning in air. Your body is desperate for oxygen, but your lungs are too damaged to provide it. You spend your final years connected to an oxygen tank, gasping for breath with every step, until respiratory failure finally takes you. You're suffocating while breathing. Liver cirrhosis is another slow nightmare. Usually from years of heavy drinking or hepatitis, your liver cells die and get replaced by scar tissue. Your liver shrinks and hardens into a useless rock. But your liver does about 500 different jobs: filtering toxins, producing proteins, storing energy, helping blood clot. When it fails, toxins accumulate in your blood. Your brain gets poisoned, causing confusion and personality changes. That's hepatic encephalopathy. Your abdomen fills with fluid. You turn yellow from jaundice. Blood vessels in your esophagus swell and can rupture, causing you to vomit blood. Eventually, you slip into a hepatic coma and die. All because your liver became a scarred, useless rock. And kidney failure? Your kidneys are supposed to filter waste and excess fluid from your blood. When they fail, all that poison just stays in your body. Waste products accumulate. Fluid builds up, causing swelling in your legs, lungs, and around your heart. You feel constantly nauseous and exhausted. Your blood becomes toxic to your own organs. Without dialysis, where a machine filters your blood for you multiple times a week, you'll slip into a uremic coma as the toxins overwhelm your brain. Then, you die. Your blood literally becomes poison. But at least with those diseases, you have time. You have years to see it coming, to make changes, to say goodbye. These next diseases don't give you that luxury. They're aggressive, fast-spreading, and by the time you realize what's happening, it's usually too late. And then there's cancer, which is basically your own cells trying to kill you. But not all cancers are created equal. Some give you years to fight back. Others are death sentences from the moment they're discovered. Pancreatic cancer is one of the worst. It's hidden deep in your abdomen behind your stomach, so by the time you have symptoms back pain, weight loss, jaundice, the cancer has usually already spread to your liver and other organs. The 5-year survival rate is around 12%. Most people die within 6 months of diagnosis. The tumor grows aggressively, wrapping around blood vessels and nerves. Chemotherapy barely touches it. As it progresses, you can't digest food properly because your pancreas isn't producing the enzymes you need. You literally starve while eating. Your liver fails. You turn yellow. The pain becomes unbearable. By the time you find it, it's already won. Then there's glioblastoma, which is brain cancer on nightmare mode. A tumor grows inside your brain, and there's nowhere for it to go because your skull doesn't expand. As it grows, it presses on different parts of your brain, causing seizures, personality changes, memory loss. You might lose the ability to speak, or suddenly not recognize your own family. Your motor functions deteriorate. You can't walk, can't use your hands. Eventually, the tumor affects the part of your brain that controls breathing and heart rate. The median survival is 15 months even with aggressive treatment. Your brain literally grows its own killer, and there's almost nothing you can do about it. But at least with cancer, you're not fully aware the entire time. ALS is different. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is when your motor neurons, the nerve cells that control your muscles, start dying. Your muscles atrophy and you become progressively paralyzed. It usually starts in your hands or feet. You drop things. You trip. Then the paralysis spreads. Arms, legs, torso. You lose the ability to walk, to use your hands, to move at all. Eventually, you can't speak, can't swallow, can't breathe on your own. But here's the truly horrifying part. Your mind stays completely intact. You're trapped inside a body that's systematically shutting down while your brain remains sharp and aware of every loss. Most people die within 2 to 5 years from respiratory failure. You're conscious the entire time your body abandons you. And then there's Alzheimer's disease, which does the opposite. It destroys your mind while your body keeps working. Brain tissue literally shrinks as neurons die. You lose your memories, starting with recent ones, and working backward until you can't remember your children, your spouse, your own name. Your personality changes. You become confused, aggressive, paranoid. In late stages, you forget how to perform basic functions. Forget how to swallow, so you can't eat or drink. Many people die from pneumonia, caused by accidentally inhaling food or liquid into their lungs, aspiration pneumonia. Or your brain simply forgets how to tell your body to breathe. You forget how to be alive. But okay, enough with your body betraying you from the inside. Let's talk about the diseases that came from the outside and killed millions of people before modern medicine figured out how to fight back. Before modern medicine, these diseases wiped out entire cities. And when we say wiped out, we're not exaggerating. We're talking tens of millions dead. Let's start with the big one, the Black Death. Bubonic plague. In the 14th century, this disease killed somewhere between 75 and 200 million people. That's up to 60% of Europe's entire population, gone. Here's how it works. Bacteria called Yersinia pestis gets transmitted through flea bites, usually from rats. The bacteria travels to your lymph nodes, which swell up into massive, painful lumps called buboes, some the size of chicken eggs. These appear in your groin, armpits, and neck. Your tissue starts dying and turning black from gangrene, which is where the name Black Death comes from. Without treatment, you go into septic shock and die within days. The mortality rate without antibiotics, 50 to 90%. And before you think, well, good thing that's over, there are still about 1,000 to 2,000 cases reported globally every year. The Black Death killed more people than both world wars combined. Then there's smallpox, which might be the most successful killer in human history. Before it was eradicated in 1980, smallpox killed an estimated 300 million people in the 20th century alone. The virus causes a fever, then pustules, fluid-filled bumps, erupt all over your entire body. Face, arms, legs, torso, inside your mouth and throat. In severe cases, the pustules merge together into sheets of infected tissue. This is called confluent smallpox, and it's as horrifying as it sounds. Your internal organs also develop these sores. You die from toxemia, your blood becomes poisoned, or from secondary bacterial infections. The fatality rate for the worst form was about 95%. Your body becomes a landscape of festering sores until you either survive horribly scarred or you die. Thank God for vaccines. But if you want to talk about dying fast, cholera is your disease. The bacteria Vibrio cholerae causes such extreme diarrhea that you can lose up to 20 liters of fluid in a single day. That's like 5 gallons. Your body basically melts from the inside out. You become severely dehydrated within hours. Your eyes sink into your skull. Your skin turns grayish-blue and feels cold and clammy. Your blood pressure drops so low that your organs start failing. Without treatment, which is literally just giving you fluids and electrolytes, about 50% of people die. With treatment, the death rate drops to less than 1%. But in the 19th century, during the cholera pandemics, entire neighborhoods died in days. Imagine losing a bathtub worth of water from your body in 24 hours. And typhoid fever was another slow, agonizing killer. The bacteria gets into your intestinal tract and bloodstream. You get a sustained high fever for weeks, terrible abdominal pain, and sometimes your intestines literally develop holes, intestinal perforation. When that happens, bacteria spills into your abdominal cavity. Internal bleeding starts. Septic shock follows. Death. Before antibiotics, the mortality rate was about 10 to 20%. During the American Civil War, typhoid killed more soldiers than bullets did. Your intestines develop holes, and you bleed out internally. You're probably thinking, well, at least we don't have to worry about those anymore. And you'd be mostly right. Modern sanitation, vaccines, and antibiotics have turned these apocalyptic plagues into manageable diseases. Except, some of them never actually went away. They just got better at hiding. Tuberculosis never went away. It just got better PR. TB is an ancient disease. We found it in Egyptian mummies, and it still kills about 1.5 million people every year. The bacteria Mycobacterium tuberculosis gets into your lungs and starts eating away at the tissue. You cough, and eventually, you're coughing up blood as your lungs are literally being destroyed from the inside. Cavities form in your lung tissue. Without treatment, about half of people with active TB die. The bacteria is also incredibly persistent. It can stay dormant in your body for years before suddenly becoming active. And now we have drug-resistant strains that laugh at our antibiotics. TB still kills more people annually than HIV. Speaking of which, malaria is still one of the deadliest diseases on the planet. A parasite transmitted by mosquitoes gets into your bloodstream and infects your red blood cells. The parasites multiply inside the cells until they burst, releasing more parasites to infect more cells. This destroys your red blood cells, causing severe anemia. In the worst cases, infected blood cells block blood vessels in your brain, cerebral malaria. This causes seizures, coma, and death. A child dies from malaria every 2 minutes. That's 30 deaths just in the time it takes to watch this video. Over 600,000 people die from malaria every year, mostly children under 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. A mosquito bite kills someone every 30 seconds. And HIV, if left untreated, is a death sentence. The virus attacks your immune system, specifically the CD4 cells that coordinate your body's defense against infections. Over time, usually years, it destroys so many of these cells that you develop AIDS. Your immune system goes from a functioning defense system to basically non-existent. Opportunistic infections take over: pneumonia, tuberculosis, fungal infections, rare cancers. Things that would never kill a healthy person become deadly. You waste away from infections your body can't fight. Before antiretroviral therapy, AIDS had a near 100% mortality rate. Even now, about 630,000 people die from AIDS-related illnesses every year. Your immune system becomes a ghost, but you want to know the most terrifying way to die? Tetanus. We already talked about it, but it deserves another mention because it's pure nightmare fuel. The muscle spasms are so violent they can break your bones. Your back arches so severely, it can fracture your spine. Your jaw locks shut. You can't swallow, can't breathe. The spasms in your chest muscles make it impossible to inhale, and you're awake for all of it, fully conscious as your body tears itself apart. Even with modern medical care in an ICU, about 10 to 20% of tetanus cases are fatal. In places without good medical care, that number jumps to 50%. You break your own spine from muscle contractions. And just when you thought modern medicine had everything figured out, the 21st century decided to remind us that nature isn't done killing us yet. New diseases keep emerging, and some of them make the old ones look almost friendly by comparison. The 21st century brought us diseases straight out of a horror movie. And the scary part? We're still figuring out how to fight them. Ebola burst onto the world stage during the 2014 West Africa outbreak. And it's as terrifying as the news made it sound. The virus attacks your blood vessels, causing them to leak. You start bleeding from everywhere: eyes, nose, mouth, ears, even from injection sites. Internal organs liquefy. You vomit blood. You have bloody diarrhea. Your organs fail from shock and blood loss. The mortality rate ranges from 60 to 90%, depending on the strain and available medical care. You essentially bleed out from the inside while your organs turn to mush. And there's still no proven cure, just supportive care and hoping your immune system can fight it off. You bleed from your eyeballs. Then there are prion diseases, which might be the most terrifying diseases that exist. Prions are misfolded proteins that cause other proteins in your brain to misfold. Your brain tissue literally develops holes, turning into a sponge. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease is the most common form. You develop rapid dementia, lose motor control, have seizures and hallucinations. From first symptoms to death is usually less than a year, often just months. There is no treatment, there is no cure. Once symptoms start, you're dead. The survival rate is 0. Mad cow disease, Kuru, fatal familial insomnia, they're all prion diseases, and they all have the same ending. Your brain becomes Swiss cheese, and medical science can't do anything about it. And here's something that should terrify everyone: antibiotic-resistant infections. Remember how we said modern medicine turned deadly diseases into manageable ones? Well, we're creating superbugs that are immune to our antibiotics. MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, is one example. It's a staph infection that doesn't respond to most antibiotics. People are dying from infections that would have been cured with penicillin 50 years ago. Projections suggest that by 2050, antibiotic-resistant infections could kill 10 million people per year. We're heading back to a pre-antibiotic era where a simple cut or surgery could kill you. We're accidentally creating unstoppable bacteria. Oh, and hantavirus. You breathe in dust contaminated with rodent droppings or urine, and the virus attacks your lungs. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome causes your lungs to fill with fluid so rapidly that you can go from feeling fine to needing a ventilator in hours. Your lungs become swimming pools. Respiratory failure hits fast. The mortality rate is about 38%, even with intensive care. A mouse in your attic could kill you, and you wouldn't even know you were infected until your lungs started drowning. Rodent poop is a death sentence. And of course, we can't talk about modern diseases without mentioning the one that literally stopped the entire world and killed millions of people in just a few years. COVID-19. You already know about this one because you lived through it. The SARS-CoV-2 virus causes your immune system to overreact, a cytokine storm where inflammation floods your lungs. Acute respiratory distress syndrome sets in. Your lungs fill with fluid and can't transfer oxygen to your blood. You end up on a ventilator, and if that doesn't work, you die. Over 7 million people dead worldwide, and that number's still climbing. We're not even done with this pandemic yet. But we didn't even cover everything. Dengue fever, where you bleed internally and go into shock. Yellow fever, which destroys your liver and turns you yellow before killing you. Lassa fever, another hemorrhagic fever from West Africa. Flesh-eating bacteria that literally consume your tissue. Necrotizing fasciitis can kill you in days. So let's talk numbers. Infectious diseases kill about 15 million people every year globally. Cancer kills roughly 10 million. Heart disease, about 18 million annually. It's still the #1 killer worldwide. Stroke kills about 7 million. Diabetes complications, another 2 million. Here's the range. The fastest killer is septic shock, which can kill you in hours. The slowest is Alzheimer's, which takes decades. Most preventable? Basically all of them with proper healthcare, clean water, vaccines, and antibiotics. Least survivable once symptoms appear. Prion diseases and rabies, both 100% fatal. The diseases we've conquered are incredible. Smallpox, eradicated. Polio, almost gone. Measles, would be eliminated if people would just vaccinate their kids. But new diseases keep emerging. Scientists warn that climate change, deforestation, and factory farming are creating perfect conditions for the next pandemic. It could be a flu variant, a coronavirus mutation, something jumping from animals to humans that we've never seen before. The next pandemic could come from anywhere: a wet market, a bat cave, a pig farm, a research lab. And we won't know how deadly it is until it's already spreading. And we didn't even talk about flesh-eating amoebas that swim up your nose and eat your brain. Or Marburg virus, which is basically Ebola's angrier cousin. Legionnaire's disease from hotel air conditioning. Lyme disease that destroys your joints and nervous system. Syphilis eating holes in your brain if left untreated for years. The human body is incredibly resilient, but it's also fragile. A single bacterium, virus, parasite, or misfolded protein can take you out. Some diseases kill in hours. Others torture you for decades. Some are your own cells betraying you. Others come from the outside world. But hey, at least now you know exactly what's happening when one of these gets you. Stay healthy out there. Wash your hands. Get vaccinated. And maybe don't pet